Okay, so today we're going to remove this lower panel here. I think Honda calls it the lower dashboard panel. What a wonderful name. My lower panel has these two vent switches. So the two dashboards I have in the other room, the vent on this side, the duct is not in either one of them, so I'm assuming that stays attached to the metal portion of the firewall that comes into the dashboard, because you can see this ring right here, that's metal. So I think it's attached to that. But every one of them had the duct going to that side of the dashboard, all intact, including all of this here. So there's a cable that runs from the, hold on one second, my flashlight just tipped over. Oh, that works perfectly. There's a cable that goes from this all the way over to a door that's actuated inside the duct over there, but I can't access the cable with the dashboard attached. So what I'm going to do is see if I can detach the cable from this lever here and just take it out with the whole dashboard when I remove the dashboard. I'm hoping that I can also access and easily figure out where the wiring harness all plugs into the fuse box, because according to the shop manual attached to the 3G's Facebook page, that's one of the steps. And one of the reasons is this is all attached to the dashboard, and what they use to do it with is not easy to take off. So if I can actually do what the manual shows to do and unplug these wiring harnesses from the fuse box so that I can just pull this whole thing out, that will work out perfectly. So that's what I'm gonna do now. There's 4 screws. There's 2 here and 2 on the bottom of this, and then this should come right out. Okay, so I took that panel down and it wasn't quite what I expected. So I'm going to unplug those 2. Okay, so this is the light for the ignition. I'm going to unplug those 2, which I think one is the dimmer controller and the other one is the chime. So I'm going to unplug both of those so I can get that panel all the way out. And these levers are still attached, as you can see here. So there's 2 Phillips screws that hold it on. I want this to come down so I can disconnect the actual cable from the right side if it's possible. Okay, so I unplugged both of those connectors that were connected to the chime and the dimmer controller there, and I took the 2 screws out of this, but it's just sitting in there. And there's this metal bracket here that bolts to the main structure of the dashboard. So I'm going to wait until I go to do that and then just take care of this at that point in time. So the next thing I'm going to do is move this, and then I need to see how the hood release is. The previous owner broke it this right before the car is supposed to be delivered. That's what this is here for. So there's a Phillips screw right here that I'm going to take out and see if this whole thing comes out. If it does, I'm going to see if I can figure out how to fix this the way it is. If not, I do have another one from a tan Accord that I can see if I can make it work. Okay, I got the hood release out. I got to see if I can fix this because it works perfectly fine. I think this part just popped out. Let me see if I can get this to focus. Not unless it's that far away. That's a little weird. But there's a notch here. It looks like if If I can find some way to make it so it stays in that slot, it would work and I don't need to do anything. And here's the hood release. So that notch goes right here. This is spring loaded. But this tip here goes into this round opening here. Hooks right in there like that. So that's how that works. And it clips on the top and there's a screw that holds it on the bottom. So I think he did something that messed that up, but that should be fixable. There's a cluster of plugs. I got one of them unplugged right here that, trying to see if I can show it to you on the camera. Let me move the light here. Those right there, if I unplug these plugs, it should enable me to remove the dashboard without removing these wiring harnesses that go all through the dashboard and are attached to it, affixed to it some way, shape, or form. The thing is, these plugs are awful. They're absolutely awful. Let me see if I can show you how they work. They have this thing here. You have to push it down, like so. You have to like push it from the front down and pull at the same time. They're really will do a number on your thumbs or whatever, but there's a whole bunch of them in there, and I got to figure out how to get the rest of them. But I got one so far, so I was able to show you. I'm going to see if I can figure out the rest. Once I get those done, all that's left is the clock and then the bolts, and I believe this should be all ready to take, oh yeah, and get that taken care of. Like I said, I'll do that once I pull that bolt out right there, and that'll be the first one I do, so we can focus on how to do that in my next video, in one of my next videos. Okay, so I got all the plugs here unplugged, and these should all free up the wiring harnesses, so when the dashboard comes off, they just stay. I was also able to move the wiring harness here for the steering column. It's attached, and there's a clip that you just pop off there. So the next thing is the clock, and then it should just be the bolts that are holding the dashboard on, and the rest should just be able to come right off. I might not even have to mess with this, because if they're not connected, which I'm still not sure yet, if they're not connected, the one that's attached to the vent over there can come out with it, and the other one would probably stay, because all the ductwork coming to this vent stays with the car. It will not come out with the dashboard. So to remove the clock, I'll just grab the hold of this trim and just pull it off like so. And there's 2 Phillips screws either side. So I'm going to take those Phillips screws out now. Now you may be asking, why do I need to remove the clock? The reason is because there's a bolt behind the clock, possibly 2, because I've never done this before, that holds the top of the dash to the car. So my dash is already wrecked, as you can see. So I'm trying to, it looks like the material, the padded material that's around the clock swelled on this car. So I'm trying to cut it away so I can pull the clock out. And then I can worry about it later when I go to reinstall the clock on the new dashboard top. But I'll let you know as soon as I get this out. Okay, so the best way to get this clock out is to use a flathead screwdriver from, sorry, I'm trying to hold the camera and the flash at the same time. Is to pull with a flathead out this side first, and then grab a hold of it, and the whole thing will come out. And what we need to do is, see that bolt in there? That's the top bolt holding the dashboard on that we will need to pull out. So that's why we had to pull the clock out. And then so I'm just gonna unplug it, and then I think we're ready to start unbolting. Okay, so we are ready to unbolt the dashboard. So there's let's see here. There's a 10 millimeter right here, one down there. There's another one on the opposite side down the same place, and another one on the other side of the dashboard over there. There's another one in there that I showed you earlier with the clock, and there's one right there, another one right there. And oh, we can't forget this one here too. So I'm going to unbolt all those, and hopefully that's all we need to do, and we'll be able to take this whole dash out. One thing I do want to point out is I unbolted this, and it seems like the way that the right side, the passenger side, is hooked up, it makes sense to unhook the driver's side, because there's only a clip here holding it on, whereas this side's got a, I'm trying to get the light in there. It's got a Phillips, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. It's like inside of this. So I think it might just be easier to pop the clip right here and try and get a better shot of it. Pop the clip right there and then just take this off. That way the cable to the driver's side will stay with the car, and this whole thing will come off with the dashboard. So that's what I'm gonna do next, and then continue with the unbolting everything. Okay, so I went to pull the dash off, and there was another wiring harness that I missed on this side. See this orange connector? This was attached, and this is literally attached to the same thing that the fuse box is connected to, so that wiring harness needs to be unplugged as well. Okay, so after much playing around, I finally figured out how to remove the turn signal stalk and the wiper stalk. There's 4 screws that hold this disc in place, and then once you take the 4 screws out, you can pull this out a little bit, and I already took the screws out, so it's not going to be very helpful, but there's a hole right there at the top, another one just like it on the bottom, and those 2 screws attach this to a bracket back here, and then once it's removed, I'm trying to slide it up. See, there's the back of the bracket right there. So once those 2 screws are removed, this will slide forward. So now I just got to unplug the this disc thingy, and then the rest of this should slide right out. I still have the there should be enough play to slide it right off without having to unplug the rest of the steering column. But I could not find anywhere how to do that, and people said just to grab the screws, and I couldn't find any pictures on how to do it. So now we know there's a screw here and a screw down here that's behind this. Okay, so I put the steering column back together because I wanted to walk through it again, and I apologize for my dog barking. But you have to take the 4 screws off of this ring, and once this ring comes loose, it's not going to come all the way off, but you'll be able to then move it up to be able to access the top screw, and down to access the bottom screw. And once you are able to take those 2 screws out, this whole thing will slide forward, which will give you enough room to pull this off and hang it down, and then pull this off. You might have to move some of the wires around here, but there is enough room to make it so that it can move. Like here, it's wrapped around the bracket, so then the whole thing just comes right off. I just wanted to go over that again real quick. So there's that, and this is what the inside looks like without the dashboard. All the way to the right is the blower, and when you put it in recirculate, that panel opens up right there to pull in air from the inside. The black box is your AC condenser or accumulator. I think it's your condenser. Your heater core is in the white part, and see there's a black duct there that goes to the driver's side, but the passenger side comes out of passenger side, and the center vents come out of the middle. Actually, I think the middle ones come out of this part, and the passenger side one comes out of that one. And then this white box down here is your control unit for your brake lights. So there's the sensors that are attached to the taillights themselves. That white box is the controller for that. So while I got the car apart, I'm going to be going through that because I have the same issue that everybody else does with the brake light showing up on the dashboard. I also have this wire here that's wired in here. I don't know what this is for. So I'm gonna be doing some cleanup in here. And I also have the same problem a lot of other people have. The cruise control doesn't work. But I noticed that this, I'm trying to get a shot of it for you. This is the clutch shutoff switch. It's not even screwed in, it's plugged in and hanging down. So the car is probably constantly thinking that the clutch is depressed, because you can start this car without the clutch being depressed. So I'm gonna be fixing that as well, on top of building a new dashboard. So I wanted to show everybody some things here now that stuff's not in the way. And yeah, so this is what it looks like. And here's the box where I unplugged all those leads that were attached to the dashboard. Notice that all the audio wiring went with the dashboard too. So I think the audio wiring plugs into, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little blue one here. I think that's the audio, the plug for all the audio. Then you got the climate control, the gauge cluster and all that. That's what all that is. And then I don't remember what that orange one was that I unplugged on that side. I'll be able to tell you once we go over the dashboard itself. I forgot to mention one other thing that had to be unplugged before I could take the dashboard out, and that was the fan switch and the climate control. This was also plugged into a wiring harness that's attached to the dashboard and not necessarily attached to the car like the rest of this wiring is. So so I just want to let you all know about that. If you found this video helpful, I appreciate it if you like this video. And if you want to stay up to date on other videos that I'm creating and posting, please subscribe to this channel. And thank you for watching.